The Arctic Circle was a place of majestic silence, ancient ice, and a serenity so profound it could soothe the most tortured soul. Naturally, Wade Wilson was doing his absolute best to ruin it. And that, Brenda, is why the all-you-can-eat shrimp buffet on this boat is technically a human rights violation, Deadpool shouted, his voice echoing off the sheer faces of passing icebergs. He was leaning dangerously over the railing of the SS Polar Explorer, a state-of-the-art expedition vessel currently carrying 42 very annoyed researchers and tourists. The group, a collection of serious glaciologists and wealthy retirees, looked at Wade with a collective expression of pure, unadulterated loathing. For 3 days they had been trapped on a medium-sized vessel with a man who didn't stop talking to sleep, eat, or breathe. He had narrated the mating habits of seals using voices from the Muppets, and he had spent 4 hours trying to convince the captain that the boat needed a chimichanga cannon to repel hostile narwhals. "Look! Everyone, look!" a young woman cried, pointing toward a beautiful glacial arch glowing in the twilight. "The light is perfect! Everyone get together for the group photo! This is the cover of the trip album!" The tourists huddled together, forced smiles plastered on their wind-chilled faces. Wade skipped over, shoving his way into the center, right between a grumpy professor and a woman holding a Pomeranian in a parka. Oh, let me get in the front. I'll do the blue steel look, or maybe the I just realized I left the stove on face. Hey, does this mask make my ego look big? The tour guide, a man named Gustav, whose patience had evaporated somewhere around the second day when Wade tried to tip him with a high five and a half-eaten granola bar, looked at the ship's security guard. They shared a silent, monumental understanding. This was the moment. As the photographer counted down, 3, 2, flash. The photo captured a beautiful Arctic sunset, a group of relieved-looking tourists, and the blurred red and black backside of Deadpool as he was launched headfirst into the sub-zero slush of the Arctic Ocean. "Wait, I wasn't ready for the gurgle!" The SS Polar Explorer didn't slow down. In fact, the engines roared with a newfound sense of freedom as the ship banked a hard turn, disappearing behind a massive iceberg in record time. The last thing he heard was the faint sound of 42 people cheering. "Rude!" Wade sputtered, his head popping above the surface like a very angry cherry in a giant frozen cocktail. "I had a great joke about penguins and tuxedo rentals. You're missing out on gold, Gustav. Gold! I'll see you in small claims court, or in your nightmares. Probably both." He began to swim. Normally, a human would be dead in minutes, their heart stopping like a cheap watch in a blender, but Wade's healing factor was currently screaming at him in aggressive Canadian French. His cells were dying and regenerating so fast it felt like being poked by 1 billion frozen needles. "Keep paddling, Dory," he wheezed, his strokes splashing through chunks of slush. "Just keep swimming. Ignore the hypothermia. It's just spicy air for the blood." He swam for miles, but the Arctic was a cruel mistress. A sudden, violent snowstorm rolled in, turning the world into a spinning white bowl of milk. The horizon vanished, the sky vanished, even his own hands became ghostly shapes in the whiteout. Which way is north, or left? Is left a direction? Yellow boxes, help me out. I need a GPS or a very smart husky. Left is a direction, Wade, but you've been swimming in a circle for 20 minutes. Also, you're currently talking to a piece of kelp. "It's a very supportive piece of kelp," Wade yelled back, his teeth chattering so hard they were practically playing a drum solo. Disoriented and shivering, Wade eventually felt his fingers scrape against something solid. He dragged himself onto a jagged ice shelf, his red suit frozen stiff and crackling like parchment. He was miles from where he'd been dumped, lost in a storm that made the world feel like it was made of nothing but static. As the wind died down just a fraction, Wade found himself staring into the black, unblinking eyes of 3 massive polar bears. They were titans of the north, 12 feet of muscle and fur, and they looked at Wade like he was a giant walking Slim Jim. "Whoa, easy there, Ice Bear. We're all friends here," Wade said, holding up his freezing hands. He instinctively reached for his katanas, then stopped. No, I promised my therapist, well, the guy at the bus stop who looked like he knew things, that I'd try de-escalation. I'm an animal lover. I saw The Lion King and only cheered when Mufasa fell once, and that was purely for the physics. The lead bear, a scarred male who clearly didn't appreciate the monologue, lunged. Wade didn't draw his steel. Instead, he slid under the bear's massive swinging paw, popped up behind it, and tried to give it a giant, suffocating hug. "I just want to be friends. Do you have a moment to talk about the multi-level marketing benefits of Hello Kitty? No? How about a group huddle for warmth?" The bear roared, a sound that vibrated Wade's very ribs, and tried to shake the red nuisance off. Wade scrambled onto its back, gently patting its head as if it were a golden retriever. There, Snowball. Let's talk about your feelings. Are you eating because you're hungry, or because you're filling an emotional void left by the melting ice caps? I've got a void. Mine is shaped like a taco." The other 2 bears joined in, snapping at Wade's heels. He spent the next 30 minutes in a frantic, non-violent ballet. He jumped, rolled, and booped their noses, refusing to use his blades for anything other than blocking their claws. He was knocked down, bitten, which healed instantly, much to the bear's confusion, and tossed around like a chew toy. Eventually, the bears stopped. They looked at each other, seemingly deciding that Wade was either too crazy, too rubbery, or too loud to be edible. With a collective grunt of disgust, they wandered off into the mist, looking deeply insulted by the entire encounter. "Yeah, you better run," Wade yelled, collapsing onto his back. "I'm a marshmallow of doom." Wade lay there for a moment, watching his breath turn into crystals. "Okay, that's it. When I get home, I'm buying a heater, and a flamethrower, and a heater that throws flames." Suddenly, the sky didn't just change, it tore. A rift of swirling violet-black energy ripped open directly above the ice shelf. It looked like a bruised wound in the fabric of reality. The sound was like 1,000 chainsaws cutting through glass. From the void, a jagged black triangular ship, an advanced TIE fighter, plummeted. It didn't glide, it fell with the weight of an empire. It slammed into the ice 500 yards away, the impact creating a crater so deep it exposed the dark seawater beneath the shelf. "Oh, please be a taco truck from the future," Wade prayed, scrambling to his feet and jogging toward the smoke. "Or a very lost pizza delivery guy. I'll even take a Hawaiian pizza at this point." The cockpit of the wreckage hissed open. Steam billowed out, meeting the freezing air. A figure stepped out, a towering monolith of black durasteel and flowing silk. The rhythmic, mechanical breathing, hiss, coo, hiss, pa, echoed off the ice walls like the heartbeat of a graveyard. Darth Vader. Wade's jaw hit the snow. No way! Did the mouse finally do it? Did they merge the spreadsheets? Lord Vader, big fan, huge. Can I get an autograph? Write it out to Wade and maybe put a little heart over the I in invasion? Vader didn't even look at him. He scanned the horizon, his hand resting on his belt. To him, Wade was just a brightly colored insect buzzing in the cold. "Hey, tall, dark, and asthmatic, I'm talking to you!" Wade skipped up and tried to poke the red and blue buttons on Vader's chest plate. "What does this one do? Does it dispense Pez? Or is it a mute button for when stormtroopers start singing sea shanties?" Without a word, Vader raised a hand. An invisible wall of force energy slammed into Wade, launching him backward with the force of a freight train. He skipped across the ice like a flat stone, crashing through a solid wall of frozen snow and coming to rest in a pile of slush. "Okay, crack, rude," Wade yelled, popping his spine back into place with a sickening wet thud. I get it, you're a no-touching kind of guy. Boundaries, I respect that. But look, I've got these swords, and you've got that glow stick. Let's see if that fancy laser sword can handle some good old-fashioned Canadian grit. Wade lunged, his remaining katana spinning in a blur of silver. But he was at a massive disadvantage. Every time his steel got close, Vader's red plasma blade would shear through it like a hot wire through foam. Within seconds, Wade was holding 2 smoking hilts. My swords! Do you know how many chimichangas I had to sell to afford those? They were authentic replicas from a guy in a parking lot. Wade pulled a strange glowing beacon he'd snatched from the ship's wreckage. Let's see what this button does. Maybe it's a call a friend button or a delete browser history button. Wade slammed the button on the Imperial beacon. He expected a shield or maybe a localized explosion. Instead, the portal in the sky didn't close, it expanded. It grew until it swallowed the stars, stabilizing into a shimmering permanent gateway between dimensions. The shadow that fell over the Arctic wasn't from a cloud. It was a star destroyer, miles of jagged metal and weaponry emerging from the rift like a shark from the depths. Then another and another. The sky was suddenly choked with the gray, oppressive hulls of the Galactic Empire. Thousands of TIE fighters swarmed out like angry hornets, their twin ion engines screaming a terrifying twin-toned howl. Shuttles began to descend, landing in perfect, terrifying formation all around the ice shelf. The ramps dropped with a synchronized hiss. Thousands of clone troopers in pristine white armor marched out, blasters raised. They didn't come to explore, they came to conquer. AT-AT walkers were lowered on heavy platforms, their mechanical feet thumping into the ice with a weight that felt like the end of the world. Vader stood at the center of the growing army, his cape billowing in the freezing wind. He finally looked at Deadpool, his mask cold, black, and unreadable. "The gateway is secured," Vader boomed, his voice amplified by the power of the Force, carrying across the frozen wasteland and into the very soul of the planet. "The invasion of this world has begun. You have served the Empire well, specimen." Wade looked at the sea of white-armored soldiers, then at the massive fleet blocking out the sun. He looked directly at the camera, his mask twitching in a nervous, manic smile. "Well, I think I might have accidentally ended the world because I couldn't stop talking on a boat. On the plus side, do you think they'll let me wear one of those cool white helmets? It'd really help with the windburn. Also, I wonder if the Emperor likes knock-knock jokes. No? Too soon?" The Imperial March began to play from the Star Destroyer's external speakers, drowning out the sound of the wind as the Empire began its march toward the rest of civilization. All because Wade Wilson was too much for a tour group to handle.